At another bar, somebody told me if you bring in your AA chips to a bar, they'll give you free drinks. So I'll never forget, I went to Catherine Rooney's, Charlie Square, Wilmington, Delaware, dumped out a bunch of AA coins on the counter. I go, I'll take a couple free drinks. The guy's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I heard if you bring your AA chips, you get drinks. And he goes, the cop goes, what are you doing in the middle of the road? And I go, well, what are you doing in my apartment? And they yanked me out of the car, put me in a jail cell. I'm puking, and we're at my house, at my mom's house in Delaware. If we couldn't find weed, and my one buddy's like, dude, why don't we just do computer duster? And I'm like, all right. So we got computer duster, and me and my buddy were fishing out in front of my friends, and we're like, oh my God. And we're like,
you know who was just here is your boy Harley Flanagan.
oh, dude. How was that?
I'm going to tell you everything.
Yeah.
It was good. But at the end, I told you my big fantasy was to create a Cro-Mags reunion.
And what did he flip
on
out?
Dopey. No, he didn't flip out. He's like in it, he wants to do it for the money. Then he went off on Paris and John Joseph. Then
on the podcast?
A little bit, yeah. But he said he wanted to do a show. He wants to get together for 45 minutes to do the reunion, play the record so they can get the rights back to the record, whatever. Right. And I was like, well, I like John Joseph. You know, he's been here a bunch of times. Yeah. He played our live show in Manhattan, and he's a nice guy and whatever. He's like, he's a scumbag. Fucking came down, fucking fuck us up. Or I came down, he fucked me up. He blindsided me, stabbed me.
Yeah, and he brought the knife.
Well, but
Harley tells people he didn't bring the knife.
Well, he had a knife in the studio here where you're sitting.
Of course.
He said, I bring a knife everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I like John. I'm not good at a lot of things. And one problem I have is people pleasing. Mm-hmm. I want everyone to love me. Mm-hmm. I want to be on everyone's team. I want everyone to think I'm great.
Yeah.
And I thought for some reason I could pull it off with Harley and John Joseph, which is a stupid thought.
Yeah.
You know? And fucking interview went really well. The ending was a little rocky. And then I talked about it on Patreon. And one person was like, you're a fucking snake for having Harley. I didn't even play the episode. I just talked about it. Mm-hmm. For having Harley at your dad's house after John Joseph was there. Mm-hmm. You're a backstabbing snake. And I was like, oh, I should call John Joseph. I feel bad. So I called John Joseph. And I'm like, I have to tell you something. He's like, Big Dave. I was like, I have to tell you something. He's like, what? I was like, I had Harley over. He's like, why'd you have that lying sack of shit on your show? Don't you know he's full of shit? And I was like, well, I know what you said, but I thought maybe I could help make a Cro-Mags reunion happen. He's like, I can't believe you did. Because also John Joseph is certain everyone's against him.
Right.
And everyone's plotting to get him.
Yeah.
And then I said, I don't know. I feel bad. Maybe. He goes, you know he's not sober. And I was like, yeah, I know. He microdoses mushrooms a little.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe I'll just use his show for Patreon. And I won't. And then I started talking to other people. He's like, what are you getting in the middle of this whole thing?
Yeah.
But they're dying to go on your show.
Really?
Yeah. I did.
Who, Harley?
I sent you the guy's email.
Did you?
Yes. After this, I'll connect you with the guy. He wants to come on immediately.
Yeah.
So if you want him to come over, you should have him come over.
Yeah.
I'll send you the
So Harley wants to do it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Think you do it like next week?
Yes.
Get the fuck out of here. No, I don't have. Oh, Michael Kraft. Oh, here it is. Sorry. Wow.
Right? I sent it. I said, that's how you get him.
Wow. All right. I'll email. See if he can do next week.
What I'll do, you want me to do a group text with you and him as soon as we're done?
Yeah.
And you'll be like, I want to do it as soon as possible?
Yeah.
All right, good. Very nice.
Wow.
Very nice. And Jordan likes the Cro-Mags too.
Uh-huh.
So she'll be very excited.
Yeah.
Now, this shouldn't be on the show, but why? Because then a bunch of people reached out to me when I talked about it, and they're all squarely ensconced in the John Joseph camp and agree that John Joseph is a wacko, but that Harley is a liar and a sack of shit.
Right.
Do you want to smoke a cigarette before we start?
No, it's all right.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Right.
They're both sacks of shit. They're
Yeah.
both
Lying-
old
yeah.
dust heads
Yeah.
from New York City.
Yes.
Put this on the show. I don't care. I'll say it to Harley. I don't care. They are both lunatics. They're old catty yentas
Yes.
that need to just grow up,
Yes.
be adults, and realize you can't solve problems through stabbing people anymore. This isn't early 90s DMS crew shit. It's fucking...
That means Doc Martin skins.
Doc Martin skins, Doc Martin stomp, drug money sex, you know. But they're not, it's not that way anymore. It's like, dude, what are you doing harboring this resentment, this hatred? I know you guys hate each other, but John Joseph's Mr. like PMA, you know.
That's what Harley said.
All
He
this
said,
shit. And then, yeah.
Harley said, if he's really about this PMA, why doesn't, or that was my John Joseph voice. Harley said, if he's really about this PMA, why doesn't he want to show up and be about the PMA?
Yeah.
You know? I don't know.
I mean, look.
All right, then this is what I want from you. You have more balls than I do.
All right.
So I want to do the Peace Summit on Dopey that we can syndicate on B&E, the two of us, bring them together, make peace together. Dude. I'll be the opportunist and you'll do the work.
That would be incredible.
Well, we can do that.
That would be unreal. And then we have to have Rick to Life from 25 to Life on. Do you know him?
No, tell me.
How much do you know about the hardcore scene in New York? How'd you get linked up with Harley and John Joseph?
I don't even know. I don't even know. I grew up in Manhattan.
Yeah.
I grew up in this room. And I know you're into ska. I grew up in a ska band in Manhattan in the late 80s, early 90s.
What band?
I was in the Percolators and the Insteps.
Okay.
And I know. Like,
what'd you play?
I played harmonica and sang.
Wow.
And
ska.
I know. And we played. I hear you talk about ska, and I never hear you talk about any of the bands from New York in the 90s, because I'm much older than you are.
I like the Pilfers. I like Mephistopheles.
That's the band I'm surprised I don't hear you talking more about.
Moon Ska Records. I mean, come on. Spring Heel Jack USA. Pie Tasters, they were DC. The Toasters. You know,
but I don't hear you talking about them.
The Skoidots.
I don't hear you talking about them.
I'm talking about them now. Let's go.
But so I didn't know. I wasn't into the hardcore scene.
Yeah.
We used to rent a studio, my band, on 14th Street. There was this amazing studio called Giant Studios, and it was like a beehive of tiny rehearsal rooms. And it was like the greatest T-shirt I ever had, and it's gone. But there was oi bands that played at the place, like the Foreskins and like these kinds of bands that played at the studio, and they always wanted to beat us up. And we actually shared a studio.
So funny.
We shared a studio in the summer of 1991 with the Slackers.
Holy
it was us
shit.
and the Slackers. And I went to shows with Vic Ruggiero in those days when he's 15 and I'm 14.
Every
and I'm
day's Sunday when you're unemployed.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
So that was my little come up in the world. And, and then I became a drug addict and I barely ever played ska music again.
Yeah.
But I also got into like the 60s ska and like reggae music. And then that's where I went.
Two-tone.
And I never got it. Hardcore was like scary to me. It was too angry for me. It was not melodic enough. It was not funky enough. Like, so I didn't go that way. I think John Joseph came, I don't know, I think it's probably a listener was like, this guy's got the craziest story you're ever going to hear.
Yeah.
And I reached out to him and he's like, I'll do the show. And then I read Diary of a Cro-Magnon or whatever. And that book's insanity.
It was called The Deuce.
Yeah.
We used to go up there and hustle dust.
That's it. Harley goes, I don't want to talk about the deuce on here. Dude, who actually, I grew up in here. I never heard anyone say the deuce.
Dude, it's crazy how they are caricatures of old New York guy. Like it's great. They're the best, but it's insanity. That's so fun. Yeah. When you were coming up in New York, hardcore was very much, everything was kind of the same. There wasn't much deviation from the bands that were going at the time. And like melodic hardcore and all that stuff didn't kind of start kicking until like mid 90s, late 90s. But like, that's so wild that you were involved in the music scene. You didn't have like overlapping.
There was,
with like,
but we would do like a matinee at Wetlands, but it would be like Mephistopheles, the Scofflaws, us.
and there's Goldfish.
No, it was
not yet?
It was pre
Okay.
all that.
Okay.
It was like, it was us, the Slackers, Mephistopheles, Scofflaws, the Pilfers, the Boilers were before us.
All right.
And then like, you know, the fucking Skanking Pickle and those kinds of bands, Scott Voovy and the Epitones, those kinds of bands would all show up.
Man.
But I was like a very much New York City purist, but I was also a dork.
Yeah.
I wasn't like a skinhead. And we would get jumped by skinheads, and we'd get jumped by DMS, we'd get jumped by Sharps, we'd get jumped by everybody.
That's so funny.
I know.
That's amazing.
I know.
And you're like in the skinhead Venn diagram playing that music.
We were very much in the skinhead Venn diagram.
Yeah, that's old school Skins.
But we were nerds.
There's a great old tone ska band from Ottawa called the Dive Tones.
I never heard it.
They're new. I met them when I played Ottawa. They're like two-tone first, second wave ska, Skins, Oi. They're great. I went and saw them, and then they came and saw me the next night. It was really cool. They're recording their new album now. So
I love your passion. I mean, I've been diving. I only knew you through clips on Instagram. Clips of you and Jordan would pop up. Clips of you doing stand-up, Jordan doing stand-up, you guys doing podcasts. I was like, who is this guy? And then I don't know how even I decided to reach out to you because I didn't know that I could.
Yeah.
But whenever I started listening to you and you talk about music so passionately that you still go to shows.
Yeah.
That's
of
beautiful.
course.
And you still play or you don't play?
No, I when I was in a ska band, I played, and then I was in a classic rock cover band in 8th grade, and then I got kicked out because I wanted to play like ska and punk, and they're like, "No, man, we're classics only," and I was like, "Screw this!" So I joined a ska band, and then after we broke up, I stopped playing guitar, and then shortly thereafter, I got involved in. I became a vicious alcoholic and didn't care about anything. But during the pandemic, we started to play music again. On Zoom and everything. We'd have Zoom meetups, we'd write songs, and we recorded a song that I played guitar on and I sang on, and it was just guitar, bass, and drums, but we never released it. And then it never went any further because stand-up came back, and then I just became super busy with stand-up again.
You Zoomed with your high school ska band friends? That's very sweet. Could you jam over Zoom?
No, but we would send rough tracks to each other and then add on, and then like I wrote lyrics to the songs off of what they would send, and then I went back to Pennsylvania and recorded a rough track with our bassist and drummer, and we re-released. We actually put it out on Spotify, like a greatest hits of our music.
What's the band
we put out
called
3
again?
albums. Sock Full of Pennies.
Sock Full of Pennies.
Yeah, PENNYZ.
PENNY, as in you don't want to get beaten down with a sock full of pennies.
Yeah.
And you grew up in Delaware.
Yeah.
You have a fantastic Delaware accent.
Oh, thank you.
Fantastic.
I forget. And then people, are we recording?
I hope so. If we weren't recording, we'd be totally wasting your time.
I was having so much fun. I was like, this is great. I'll talk about ska and John Joseph all day.
Let me introduce you properly. This is Ian Fidance from Being Ian with Jordan and Being Ian with Ian solo podcast. And welcome to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
When we talked on the phone for a minute, I knew that you'd be right at home here.
Yeah, I feel very much at home, especially because there's a brick wall and wood paneling.
Yes, it's very cozy.
And a creepy skinhead in the corner.
Yes. He's the least skinhead of all skinheads.
He just
ever.
has the haircut.
Yes.
That's all.
Yeah, he prefers Oi to hardcore, right, Howie? You're an Oi purist.
Big Oi guy.
I have to say this, and it's going to waste your time, but I just have to tell you this. Howie is I've known him for 25 years. He just started an all-black R&B girl group AI band.
What?
That he stays up all night writing and recording songs for. It's called Lux. I think one of the songs is called Call Me Daddy, I Love to Fuck.
Do you write the lyrics?
Yes. He's a... read him the titles of your songs. Just please. He just needs to know.
E.T. phone the police.
That's how he is. That's how
Of course it's how he is.
Howie, just read the titles of your songs.
What album are we talking about?
There's multiple albums.
It's out of control.
There's an album, Sins and Cinnamon.
Let me read them.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh no, you don't even know.
Yeah.
Oh, tried to wife me.
Me.
Prove it to me, boy. I'm emotional. Unmask me, a vibe. Sun kissed, Penny's flight. Now we doing what we doing. Oh my God.
Can you believe it?
Let me hold your love.
I thought it was called Let Me Wipe Me.
Oh, dude. What is this?
This is Howie's new thing. Ian, what do you make of this?
I'm the rhyme aligner.
Did you write that one, Hal? I'm the rhyme aligner? No, I think ChatGPT came up with that.
No.
He half the first record. Check it out, Ian. The first record.
Co-produced by Chad.
Can you please give me your insight to this story now?
I think you should get back to the show.
We'll get back to the show. It's too good, right? Have you ever heard of such a thing? I want him to cover Beyonce and Destiny's Child with his new. Go ahead, we'll play a little bit so Ian can hear it. Please.
I can't. We don't have time
I'll
for
play a little bit.
I mean,
I've never imagined a guy wearing rock climbing sandals, Horace Grant glasses, a skinhead haircut, and an Ocean City, Maryland shirt would have that inside of him that you're making a Bratz girl doll cover band via AI.
He also put it on Spotify. How do I get to it on Spotify?
Oh, look up Lux.
I did, but it's not coming up.
I don't know.
Hold on. I need it. I need it before we get to Ian's life.
Oh.
I need it. Artist, Lux. Howie, I'm not seeing it.
No. Oh, it's too bad.
Give me the Lux link.
Oh, God.
That's the name of a new song. Give me that Lux link. Because when I'm with you, I'm taking it all. The kitchen sink.
Please wipe me. What is
Please
it?
wipe me.
That you or me?
That's you. This is what he does. Put it into the microphone. All the way into the top of the mic.
Howie, your children need
money
for books.
He has 2 children.
Howie, this is pretty good.
How about this?
You say you want to be with me. I don't believe.
And this is all
you, so
AI.
prove it to
I
me,
don't understand what's
boy.
happening.
Talk is cheap. You ain't saying nothing
How about this one?
new.
Howie, can you make me a fuck mix to your all girl black R&B?
Have you ever heard of anything like this
ChatGPT,
in
man?
all of your life?
No, it's crazy, but I
think
know
you're
he's
back.
not the only one.
No,
That's the thing.
he can't be the
He's
only
not
one.
the only one.
Now let's-
There's an army of Howies growing, exploiting fake black voices. How dare you, Howie?
There's got to be
dare
something
you.
anti-woke about Lux. We'll get to that. We'll get to that eventually.
I just want to say, You're in Lux is the name of the next album.
Yes. Always in Lux.
Wow.
Lux.
The next one is like...
He's going to do
No.
an Oi record, but he said it's going to be
no, it's
still...
Mood Swings and Diamond Rings is the next one.
Whoa.
That one's more neo
I like
soul.
that.
We've spent far too much time
Yeah,
on
I
Lux
think we
and
have.
Howie. But he said he's going
Will
to...
you send that to me? I want to make love to Lux. I want to find a Luxy gal and make love to her while we listen to Lux.
The weird thing is that if you can go on Spotify and find Lux...
Is it Lux or is it L-UX?
What's an umlaut?
Umlaut is a 2-dot
Like
thing,
Motley Crue?
Like Motley Crue, yeah. Or Motorhead.
No, it's Lux. I'm so taken with Lux. I've known Howie forever. This is one, he does weird things, but nothing this weird and this intense.
It's like finding out your friend can only come if they're wearing a diaper or something. You're like, hey, it's cool you do that, but just keep it to yourself.
Yes. Ian, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
It's a total honor to have you here. I'm glad we went down the Howie path.
Mm-hmm.
And being
Howie hole.
Ian with Jordan has
Yes.
taken the world by storm.
Thank you.
Is it a good time?
It's the best.
Is it the best time?
It's so much fun.
It's
Yeah.
not Lux, but it's all right.
I mean, it's nothing will ever be Lux, but me and Jordan are in Lux every week when we're together because we just get to hang out and lose our minds. It's great. It's a good time. People seem to really like it. We have a great dynamic, and it's pretty crazy that people have really started to dig it, and I really like it.
How did you start with her with it?
I was going to start my own podcast, and we had been friends for a while. I think for like 6 or 7 years now, and I was starting my own podcast during the pandemic. She had said she wanted to start a podcast with me, and we tried, and we did it with another guy, and it just didn't work out. We did one episode, and halfway through, I got up and stormed out and left.
Why?
I yelled at the guy because he was being rude to her and was like being like really mean. And
you guys had a podcast together, and he was disrespectful to Jordan on the podcast.
it was called Futon Philosophy, and the idea was that Jordan explains a philosopher to us, And then we ask her questions and make jokes about it. And then he just kept making these comments, and I like lost it at him and got up and stormed out, and it didn't go anywhere. And that guy was like a piece of shit. But then I started my own podcast, and she was the first guest, and the episode went so good. I was like, dude, will you just do this with me? This is like the most fun. But the problem is we had to keep the name B and Ian with Jordan because I got Wesley Schultz of the Lumineers to do the theme song.
The song's so good.
Thanks.
It's
I
so
wrote the
good.
lyrics and he sang it. So I got him to do that song, and it's like, well, I have Wes from the Lumineers doing the theme song. We can't change that. Like, we have to keep this. So we just kept it B and Ian with Jordan instead of like naming it something else. And she came on after that episode, and it's been us ever since.
But being Ian with Jordan is a fine name.
Yeah. It's fun.
Being an Ian rhyme.
Yeah.
And with Jordan gives her proper billing.
Yeah.
And the tune is very great.
Thank you.
I like
appreciate that. Thank you.
We have people do Dopey songs.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I hear, not Howie.
No.
Maybe we'll have Lux do a Dopey song. I don't look forward. There's a guy, I don't know why I'm going down this path, but there's a guy in Wisconsin who's a dopey kind of head.
Yeah.
And we actually sent him to treatment years ago. And
wow.
And then we sent him to sober living too.
Whoa.
And then he relapsed and he got busted like with a shit ton of psychedelics in Wisconsin on a farm. And now he's at Trey Anastasio's rehab in Vermont.
Up.
And he, for about 2 weeks, sent in 100 AI songs about Dopey. And I was like, you got to stop. You got to stop.
Oh
it's
my
hours
God.
and hours of Dopey music.
That's wild.
So I love the original music. And I also just think your vibe is very sweet. When did you get to New York?
Thank you, by the way. I moved here at 18 in 2003. And then I moved to my spot in Brooklyn in 2007. And then I drank myself out of New York in 2008, and then came back in 2012 to the same apartment. And I've been there ever since.
Same apartment. And you're a proper alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
We rarely get proper alcoholics.
Yeah. I'm one of the rare breeds. Just straight gutter drunk alcoholic. And it's wild because so many people get like dismissive about that in a way where they're like, oh, it was just alcohol. Like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. You know what I mean? Whereas everybody is like, oh yeah, Coke or pills, or that's like so much more sexy. And then just being like a straight up horrific alcoholic is like so gauche, you know?
It is. It's become that, but it's also like it goes both ways because like in an AA meeting, there's a lot of AA meetings that if you're talking about drugs, they don't want you there and they take serious umbrage with you there.
I feel like that's going by the wayside.
Sometimes.
I think.
I go to a certain fellowship. I'm just going to speak plainly.
Please.
I go to AA in Suffolk County, and it's very cops and contractors, very Trumpy cops.
You need cops and contractors to keep the traditions the way they
Strong.
were meant to be. Yes,
Right.
yes.
So
Yes.
I
I think graphic designers will bend at the knee. You know?
quickly, and podcasters too. But cops and contractors hold true.
Yes.
So it's a room that at night it's a Heroin Anonymous meeting.
Shut up.
And in the morning, it's Alcoholics Anonymous. And
there's actual HA?
Yeah.
Whoa, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Suffolk County. Let's
yeah,
go.
Yeah, for real. And so they kept the shades from the HA in the morning. And I'm a heroin addict. I got sober in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm happy to say I'm an alcoholic. I barely drank, whatever. And I said, my share was, it's so ironic to me to be a heroin addict who got sober in AA reading the steps in Heroin Anonymous in an AA meeting. And I thought it was so interesting and whatever. The next person that shared, he goes, it disgusts me that we have heroin shades in our Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. We should not discuss anything besides alcohol.
That rules.
But you, my friend, are a proper alcoholic. And I'm so excited to have you on the show. What came first for you, comedy or booze?
Booze. Well, comedy proper, like doing stand-up, or comedy?
Comedy the dream. Comedy the vision.
I don't know. I always used that. That's how I got out of trouble as a kid, was just making my parents laugh. To get out of trouble with my dad, I'd imitate him. You know, like I was always funny and full of energy and everything. And then I actually, when I went to rehab is when I was thinking about this the other day, because I did Dr. Phil live Saturday in Atlantic City, which was like so fun. Adam Ray's the best. He's a genius, man. And I rented a car. I drove down to Atlantic City. And then yesterday I drove from Atlantic City back to New York. But on the way, I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop and see my mom in Delaware. So I drove off, went through Delaware, saw my mom, got her dinner, hung out. And then I made a pit stop and stayed at a girl's place in Philly. And then I came back today. But driving, I was thinking about rehab and how that was like this place where all these guys were like, dude, you gotta try comedy. You gotta be a comedian. You're so like funny. And I was like, oh, nah, man, you're funny, Eric. You're the funniest crackhead I ever met, you know? But I think back to all these things whenever I hit a certain road or a certain area, I just get flooded with all these memories of like, for some reason, when I checked myself into rehab like years and years ago.
And when did you start drinking? When was the first time you drank?
Man, I guess maybe like 5th or 6th grade, I had like a beer or something. And then friends got me drunk. They gave me a shot after a Beastie Boys concert that I got a contact high at. And I'll never forget. I clear as day, I remember they put like tequila and vodka and all this shit in one drink, and I drank it, and I went up and slept in my friend's brother's bed. And I remember laying in the bed and being like, oh my God, I want to feel this way forever. I love this feeling. And I didn't get to do it again until like New Year's Eve that year. And then I got drunk and tried to fight my stepdad. And when I behaved in front of my stepdad's family, my mom would reward me with a beer and a cigarette when I was in like maybe 7th grade.
So it was like established as a young teen that you were fucking drinking and smoking, and this was you.
Oh yeah. I mean, I started smoking in I think 6th grade, maybe.
How old are you now?
40.
40, and you've been smoking since you were 12.
It's so ridiculous to say.
I want to help you. I want to help you stop smoking.
It's so ridiculous to say, yeah, I started at 11, but
It's
I quit.
great.
I started at 12, but I quit at 13. But I did. And then I started again at 14, and then I quit at 15 and started full time at 21.
So you had a few years off.
Yeah. I was straight edge in high school. I was way into the hardcore scene and punk scene. I was in a ska band. I was straight edge. Everyone knew me as like straight edge Ian. And I was the guy that could have fun without alcohol. Like, whoa, this dude acts like he's drunk and he's not. Like, that was like a badge of courage I had. And I ran around with these guys that we would all X up our hands and we would beat people up if they were like drinking at shows, like crazy degenerate behavior. But in our minds, we're not drinking or doing drugs. So we're like good people.
You were drunk on straight edge power.
Oh, totally. Without a doubt, dude. Oh my, that was like I was just a kid searching for community and identity. And I found it in this music and in this scene of people where the bigger you puff out your chest with how you're going to be straight edge till you die, the more like respect you get, you know? And at 18, you're going, yeah, I'm straight edge till death. And no, dude, I ended friendships over people being like, dude, you know, you're going to drink, right? I'm like, fuck you. You don't know me. Fuck you. I'm as straight as a line. You sniff up your nose. Fuck you. You know?
Can you break down straight edge-ism for the Dopey Nation if anyone doesn't understand what it is?
Straight edge started with Minor Threat in the 1980s, and the X on the back of the hand was underage kids at shows would get an X on their hand for them to get into the venue and be like, hey, they're in the venue, but they can't drink. And so then straight edge was a lifestyle adopted by Minor Threat and Ian Mackay that was no drugs, no drink. And then there's, you know, some people are like, no sex, you know, no caffeine, no nothing, you know. But it's just basically making a promise to yourself to not drink and not do drugs until you die. So and it's very much entwined with the hardcore punk rock music community.
I have so many questions because you say you fell in love with alcohol 6th grade. You were like, I like this.
Yeah.
were you drinking heavy at that point?
No, it was just like a shot. And I remember being like, I want to feel this way forever. And then I didn't have access to it. And I was like, oh well. And then I drank when I was 14. I went to a party and I got fucking hammered and made an ass out of myself and like got in a fight. And then I went to another party and I got so drunk I passed out on my friend's front lawn. My grandfather had to pick me up. I offered to buy weed from this kid with money my grandmother gave me for Christmas. I was like, look, man, just give me it. I'll give you this check. My grandma's, it's $25. Just give it to me for Christmas. Dude, off the rip, I asked a sophomore if I could give him my grandmother's Christmas money for him to hook me up with one of his girlfriends. Like immediately, not even knowing it was, I was trying to get a prostitute. Like immediately trying to buy drugs to get a prostitute.
Well, you knew that money could get you. Money could get you what you wanted.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I know my grandmother's giving me $25 for Christmas. I'm rich, and I made such an ass out of myself. I faked sick for the weekend. I didn't go to school because I was so afraid of seeing everyone, and after that, of course, you know, we're people of extremes. I proclaimed I was straight edge and I'm not going to do this. Fuck this. And my mom was like so mad at me. So I wrote like a straight edge song and I like read it to her. It was like, this is a promise I give to you and to myself. Like, see, unground me, you know? And then I became straight edge and I jumped into that scene and that world. And I was that way until... Man, it's so funny. The big like joke with straight edge is like the worst thing you could do is be straight edge till 21, you know, or like straight edge till college. And for a period of time, I was like, I'm edge till death, till I die, straight edge. And then I started drinking when I turned 21.
Well, was your mom disappointed that you were straight edge, or she was disappointed that you were?
No, my mom was like so grateful I was straight edge. She was like, thank God. And I fell in with a group of guys that were straight edge as well. And, you know, we were like extreme about it. So everyone knew. And it was just a way to like find community and find an identity, you know?
It's amazing because you obviously are an alcoholic to your bones.
Oh, yeah.
And there's some piece of you that's seeking safety at an early age and still seeking community and still seeking creativity.
Yeah.
And the fact that you almost got through with it, you know, and then it blew up in your face. So how does it blow up in your face?
Well, that's the thing. Everyone knew me as
straight edge,
someone that was straight edge. This is, and I made it a very, very vocal part of my identity in life. So I left Delaware at 18, moved to New York. I wasn't good at making friends. I left all my friends. I would go to CBGBs. I go to matinees. I'd go to CBs, but I didn't make any friends there. I would just go and like mosh alone and then like leave, you know, or like see these bands. And then I just wouldn't talk to anyone. And it became really alienating. And I made 3 friends in college. And
where'd you go to school?
I went to NYU. And they drank. And I would go out with them. And then around 10 p.m., I'd be like, well, I'm just going to go home. Everyone's drinking. And it was like alienating. I would just spend all my time alone. So eventually I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, why don't you just try it? Why don't you just drink? But I couldn't drink around anyone because everyone knew me as straight edge. I was like, I'm going to lose all my friends. They're going to hate me. They're going to think I'm a quitter, all this stuff. So I started drinking alone immediately off the rip. The very first night, I took my roommate's tequila and I dumped it all in a Gatorade bottle. I remember I drank some of that. I got fucked up. I went to Union Square. I met some kid named Tizza, got him to give me weed, didn't know how to roll a joint. So I put it in loose leaf and used Scotch tape and smoked that in my dorm room. And I wrote a goodbye letter because I thought I was dying. And I was like, I've let everyone down. I'm so sorry. I wish I could find the straight edge song I wrote to my mom to prove that I was like, I shouldn't be in trouble anymore. And then the goodbye letter I wrote to my family because I thought I was going to die because of how sick I was getting. And then I still didn't tell anyone. And I would go out and drink alone. And I would go to bars alone. And the only drink I knew was an Alabama Slammer. So I would just go to a bar alone and get a fucking Alabama Slammer. And then eventually I like came out to my friends. I was like, I'm drinking. And they were like, oh, amazing. Like, let's go. And I'm like, oh, cool. You guys don't hate me. And then my straight edge friends were like, fuck you. Like I lost them. And then I would start to drink, and it was like fun to see, like, yo, we got to get Ian drunk. And then after, I'm not even joking, after like 3 months, it was like, yo, we got to not get Ian drunk. Like,
what kind of stuff was happening?
I mean, almost immediately, I was just an incorrigible problem, like fighting people. I would either get in fights or I would cry and start to talk about my dad. And
How old were you when your dad died?
I was 8, and I never, ever talked about it, ever. So when I started drinking, that's when it was like, what are these feelings that are unlocked? Oh my God, I can talk about him and not feel strange, you know? So I would like get drunk and corner my friends and just sob in their arms and like beg them to tell me that my dad was proud of me. And it was a rough scene, man. Or I would disappear and go off and cry on my own. And that was all the time.
How did he die?
In an accident at work. And he worked on a train yard in Philadelphia. And so I didn't put it together, but in hindsight, alcohol gave me access to emotions I was hiding for my entire life. And at the same time, I was, personally dealing with my own sexuality and not knowing who I was or what I was or why I was feeling these certain ways. And when I drank, that not only did it quiet that yelling in my head and that shame I felt from, doing those things, it allowed me to go do those things and not feel shame about it. So I was getting drunk and meeting up with men and going to gay bars. And it was just such, in New York City in, 2005 or 2006, it was just such a recipe for insanity.
Well, did you come to New York for the hardcore scene, the comedy scene, or the gay scene in the first place?
Dude, I don't know why I came to New York. My high school guidance counselor was like, you're not going to get in any school. Safety school is a key word here. And I was like, all right. She was like, apply to as many schools as you can because your grades are not good. I was like, all right. So I applied to 13 schools. I got into 11 of them. And she
was gaslighting you or something.
Dude, fuck it's you, like, Mrs. Doyle. Yeah. I'll never forget being in her office. She goes, safety school. You're going to hear it a lot. Safety school. And I remember I asked my mom, I was like, because I love Ghostbusters and Ninja Turtles. I was like, why don't I just apply to NYU? I remember my mom was like, all right, for your birthday, because we had to pay extra for the thing. She's like, all right, fine. And I got accepted. And I'll never forget driving up into the city. It was my first time visiting New York that I could remember. Awesome. And I just remember having this feeling like, I got to be here. And so I moved to New York at 18. It was crazy. 2003.
See, that makes sense to me, though. Like being from New York.
Yeah.
You have to leave, I think. I went to school upstate, then I wound up at Purchase, which is right outside of New York, which was a great place to be. We live on Long Island. My daughter wants to go to school in New York. I'm like, no, go to a real school, go to college, don't go to New York. But you, who were moved by hardcore scene, comedy scene, and probably the incredible sexual energy of the city, you were like, this is where I will become. I don't want my kid to become in New York. I'm happy you became in New York.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little nervous at the idea of my kid becoming in New York.
New York City people have to leave New York City. Like go somewhere else and then they'll be like the unicorn, like, oh my God, you're from New York City? What's that like? Whoa. And then she'll make friends and they'll come and visit on the holiday, you know what I mean? But she should get out of New York City. So, but it was weird going to NYU. It was super alienating.
What did you study?
I went to school to be an English teacher.
I could see that.
Yeah. So it was weird, man, because there's no campus. You're in the park. You don't know if people are your classmates, tourists, crackheads, city people, And yeah.
Have you been there recently?
I'm there. I work the Comedy Cellar every night.
Can you believe that heroin corner? That heroin crack corner? That's like new.
Bro, they shut the park down at midnight. And
they stay though, right? Do they stay?
I mean, I'm not hanging out in the park to check. It's very, very strange because I mean, you've been here your whole life, so you've seen the waves. I've been here since 2003, and I've never seen it like this. Last week, I clocked in the same day 2 different people, 2 different places, 2 different shits on the sidewalk they were taking when I walked by.
It's crazy.
Like pants down, spraying shit on the ground. I've never seen the city like that before.
This isn't Kensington. This is fucking Washington Square Park.
It is. This wasn't even Washington Square Park. This was right on 5th Avenue. And then in my neighborhood in Williamsburg. It's crazy, man.
I want to get back to the shame / sexual freedom / plummet into alcoholism.
Yeah.
So you're straight edge.
Mm-hmm.
I once had Danny Trejo's son on the show, and Danny Trejo, sober and Narcotics Anonymous a million years. The son went to meetings as a kid, as a little kid. First time he smoked weed, he said he felt like he relapsed. The first time he smoked weed.
Oh, wow.
You're straight edge as a young, as an adolescent, as an older adolescent, and you start drinking, but you were never in program. But straight edge is like a weird version of program.
Well, it's like tons of shame because it was because I had to tuck my tail between my legs. I told everyone I was going to be drug-free until I die. I was going to be alcohol-free till I die. Everyone knew that about me. And then, what do you know? I'm drinking. So that became a joke. Like, I'll never forget, I was at a party, and I had made my own beer bong, but it was with, I went to Home Depot and made it. It had a valve switch and like huge tubing so that you could pour like a 40 in it, and I did that with whiskey, and I put it in there, and I took like a whiskey bong, and then I took like a rip of Gravity bong, and when I blew it out, I'll never forget this kid that I ran cross country with in high school. He goes, dude, that's fucking crazy. This kid used to be straight. He used to not drink or do anything. And I was like, yeah, fuck you. Look at me now, But it like I said, for like a minute, it was fun to get me drunk. Like, whoa, we've never seen you like this. And then it was like, dude, you got to stop. We hate seeing you like this.
How long before you were doing comedy, doing stand-up?
I was 26 when I started stand-up.
Were you going to comedy clubs in school? Like, were you drawn to it, or were you just drawn to the hardcore scene here?
Yeah. I mean, I loved comedy. I would go to the Comedy Cellar at 18. I'd bring my friends. I'd sit in the front row. I'd see Attell, I'd see Norton. I saw Chappelle. It was like, I loved comedy my entire life. Like I loved stand-up my whole life. I loved comedy. I loved, comedy was a huge, huge, huge part of my life before I started doing stand-up. Just like laughter. Laughter has saved me a million times over. Laughter is like my spiritual lighthouse,
I just had the good fortune of having Bobby Lee come on the show.
Oh, get out of here.
And he said that for him, the laughs were the higher power.
Yeah.
Like but then he was sure it was a false god. Can you relate to that kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like, have you ever read Where Are You Going, Where Have You Been by Joyce Carol Oates?
No.
It's this short story about this girl that thinks she wants, free. She's like a young girl, and she thinks she wants freedom, and she wants to be treated like an adult. And then this like sales guy comes to the door, and he's like kind of hitting on her, and she's like liking the attention. Then all of a sudden, like she's in over her head with like the things that this guy is offering, and she's like, oh, and she's starting to feel very small. And then she realizes that this guy in this nice suit, she looks down, and he has hooves sticking out of his legs. And before she knows it, she's in bed with the devil. And I feel like that can be comedy because you think it's everything you want. You think it's going to save you. I have my good addiction now. This is the thing that I'm positively addicted to something. I need this. It's in me. Wow. But you can very easily let it rule your life and become your God and become your higher power and become the thing that makes or breaks you. And it's a thing that does not care if you exist or not. And it's a very, very sobering wake up when you realize that. And I still to this day very much have to focus on a life outside of comedy because it does not care about you. It will turn its back on you in a heartbeat. The laughs will still be there, but you can't pay your rent and laughs. You can't, put food on your table with laughs, sure, they feel good, but they only last until they go away.
Totally. And that means when you started doing stand-up, you were still drinking.
No, I started living in a halfway house in Delaware.
Hold on, I jumped ahead too far.
Yeah.
So I want to hear about your descent into shithole alcoholism.
I mean, there's let me tell you, brother, my my bottom had a trap door, all right?
There we go.
Yeah, it was just you
graduated?
Which time?
You graduated from NYU?
Yeah, barely. I had to take a semester off, or I had to take a semester of incompletes because I stopped going to classes. I had to take an extra semester, and during that extra semester, I took 2 semesters worth of classes. I was student teaching and working, and it was insane. I don't know how I did it. It was crazy, while drinking and doing drugs. And the last paper I ever did, I remember I had to student teach the next day, and I had one more essay due. And the night before, I went out with my friends to like the penny farthing, or what's it called? Pennies on like the Bowery or whatever.
I don't know. I know what you're talking about, but I don't know.
Yeah. So I went there with my friends, and I'm like, tomorrow, my last day of college ever. Let's celebrate. And they're like, all right, take it easy. I'm like, shots. Let's all do shots. I'm like, no, man, come on. I go, look, I'm just going to do one shot. And I'll never forget, dude, I did that shot. And then the next thing I know, I'm ripping a gravity bong at 3 a.m. in my living room. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to write this fucking essay. And I'm like, I didn't plan on this. And that was every single time. I didn't plan on this. It was always, no, it's not going to be like that. And then it was. And then the next day, somehow I went and student taught. And then that was my last day. And then I went to Delaware and I did mushrooms to celebrate. And all I had to do was, I was guaranteed from the school I was student teaching at to be a full-time sub. And then they were going to give me the English job the next year because one of the teachers was leaving. I was like, great, I'm a shoo-in. I couldn't even keep that. I just drank myself out of it.
At what point do you know you're an alcoholic?
I mean, at the point where I think I was the last one to know because everyone was telling me I was, but I was like, no, I'm not. Like, fuck you. And then I would like fight you or like get upset, you know? But I mean, when I had to miss like, you know, a semester of college because I just was fucking up, I wasn't like, it was, I would get confirmation from other people and be like, they say I'm an alcoholic. Do you think I'm an alcoholic? They'd be like, no. And I'm like, well, I'm going to hang out with you instead of them. And then when they would start to give me shit.
Do think I'm
Yeah. That's what it was. It was like shift around to hang out with the people that like don't think you have a problem. And then all of a sudden I'm not hanging out with anyone because no one wants to be around me. And then, you know, I was supposed to just, I could have been a teacher with tenure by now. All I had to do was just keep it together, and I couldn't. I was drinking on the way to school. I was drinking when I got there. I was leaving to drink, you know, going home. I missed parent-teacher conference night because I stopped by PC Richards and got computer duster, and I got too dusted in my living room to like go to the conference. It was always, I'm sick. Oh, this happened, that happened.
Were you a big huffer?
For a period of time, yeah.
I've never huffed. We rarely hear about huffing. How did you start huffing? And tell us all about it.
I started
I've
huffing.
also never heard huffing called getting dusted.
Yeah.
But keep
hippie
going.
crack. We were getting
Nitrous
dusted, man.
is hippie crack.
No way.
And
Computer
getting
duster
dusted
is
PCP.
hippie crack.
I never heard that.
And walking by PC Richards and getting a case of it and then going home and not going to teach at parent-teacher student conferences. It's called getting fucking Delaware dusted.
Tell me everything.
We were at my house, at my mom's house in Delaware. I forget when, but we couldn't find weed. And my one buddy's like, dude, why don't we just do computer duster? And I'm like, all right. So we got computer duster, and me and my buddy were fishing out in front of my friends, and we're like, oh my God. And we're like, just like flopping on the floor. And then one by one, friends of mine were like, I'm out of here, man. And then me and my buddy just did a can of duster. And then we started doing Coke and duster where we'd huff for as long as we could, rip a line of Coke and then breathe out. And I don't know how I didn't fucking die, man. I would fish out in a bad way. The
fishing out is like flopping.
And like, dude, I legit would think I was outside at a cookout with all my best friends and I'm flipping burgers and I'm the man, everyone's there. But in reality, I'm in my childhood bedroom being like, and my mom's over me like, Ian, I lost your father. I'm not going to lose you too. And I'm like, oh, I was having a nightmare. Leave me alone, you know?
How do you put it in a bag? Like, how do you use computer duster?
I don't want to tell you for the kids at home.
They'll figure it out.
You just suck on the fucking can,
That's
man.
it.
That's it.
That's
and they
it.
put a bitterant in there so that you don't, so it tastes bad. But let me tell you, you get used to it.
I had a woman on here who would do it with deodorant in Brazil.
Oh, wow.
So I think you're the second huffer
Thank you.
in 536 episodes. Though.
Thank you. Yeah, the parent teacher conference night, I had tinnitus in my ear for like 6 months. I had a ringing in my ear. I was gone, man. Like it felt like after that I was pulling for files in my head that weren't there. It slowed me up. I was like way affected by it because I was doing it all the time. And I'll never forget, I was in my living room and I was getting dusted and then I blacked out. Next thing I know, I woke up in a pile of vomit. My face was blue and completely cold. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I got to stop this. And then my friend came out to visit the next day and we just drank King Cobras all weekend and I made sure not to do duster.
Was that the end of your dusting career?
Yeah.
Now, you said how being an alcoholic is so gauche,
Yeah.
but it turns out you're not just an alcoholic. You're a total duster freak.
I guess, yeah.
What are your other favorite substances?
Vodka.
Well, that's alcohol.
I did coke.
Seems like you liked weed.
Loved coke. I loved weed.
I hear you talk about weed now. You're not so fond of it in your sober life, but you liked it when you were smoking weed?
I did, but it just made me stupid. You know, it would like give me the giggles and then, you know, half the time it'd be great. And then the other half I'd wig out to the point of like, I don't know if I'm coming back from this in like a scary way.
And lots of drug addicts and alcoholics, you know, I settled into a routine of using with a few people and like, you know, there was a little weird crew of people that went down the road of opiates a little too hard and we all wound up and then we kind of went our separate ways and I had a heroin habit and I kept using. Like for you, was there an alcoholic crew or do you find yourself just drinking alone? Was there anyone that kept up with you?
There was one friend who, when I checked myself into rehab, I called him from the payphone. Oh, he just texted me right now.
That's weird.
I called him.
Is that really true?
I swear to God.
That's bizarre.
I called it. We're childhood friends. You know, we were real bad for each other, but good for each other, you know. And I called him and I go, hey, man, look, I had to check myself into rehab. And he goes, well, fuck you, man. Who am I going to get fucked up with now? And actually, I helped him get sober a couple years ago, which is really nice.
He's sober now?
No.
But
he got sober for a while. Yeah, I would drink alone. I would drink, hey, hi, how are you? And then I'd go drink the way I wanted to alone. And with this guy, my friend, we would get in a lot of trouble together. And we always laugh how it's like a blessing that we never lived together. You know, like it's crazy to me in hindsight how we didn't end up together in the same place. We lived in separate areas. So when we were together, it was like crazy. But if we lived together, it'd be over, you know? And my cousin Sherry, I didn't see her from when I was 8 until my mid-20s. And she ended up being a heroin addict and an alcoholic and in and out of jail. And she and I were thick as thieves as kids. And then my dad died when I was 8 and I didn't see her for like, you know, God knows how many, 20 years or something. And we always laugh like, man, if we had stayed as close as we were, we would have been dead. You would have
been dead from an OD.
That's the thing. It's like there's so many instances in my life where there is something out there, and I like to think of it as my dad is out there looking out for me, but there's something out there that has kept me alive and away from these things that would have killed me. I mean, I tried to get heroin so many times in New York City, and I legitimately had people tell me no. There was a guy I met in one of my classes, and I called him and I was like, yo, I know you do heroin, like meet up with me. He was like, nah, you're a good kid. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And then I finally annoyed him enough. He's like, all right, take this train, blah, blah, blah. And then I blacked out on the train and I woke up in Bay Ridge. I'm like, oh, I missed my stop.
I missed my stop in Bushwick.
Yeah. And I called him and he's like, nah, it's a sign. You're not doing it. I'm like, what the fuck? You know, when I found my, when I went home to tell my mom, I like failed out of college and everything, I tried to find heroin in Wilmington, which is like a huge Wilmington heroin. I'm literally walking around the city of Wilmington on the way to my bus back to New York, going up to people and be like, yo, where can I get heroin? They're like, leave me alone. Get the fuck away from me. I'm like, what is happening? Why can't I get my hands on heroin? Apparently it's the easiest thing in the world, but not for your old pal Uncle Ian, you know? But it saved my life.
That's God's will.
Yeah.
You made it. I make a joke. I struggle with God's will. Like what the fuck is God's will? Like where I mean, what people say God's will is where it aligns with you trying to do the next right thing, and that's the only place that God's will exists. But Well,
I think God exists to me in the moments that you allow him to. And when you open yourself to the idea or possibility of it, little things will happen that you'll go, okay, that's
the way to go. I see it
as like winks and nods. And you can live your life not believing in it, which closes you off to it, or believing in the possibilities so that if something does happen, sure, it may be a coincidence. Sure, it may be, you know, an anomaly, or it could be a thing that makes you feel better believing in its existence.
I think just being open to something that's good, spotting something that's good, and feeling good from it is like a nice thing.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong? I mean, my dad is this real anti-God person. So whenever I talk about God on the show, my dad listens to the show hoping I talk about him. And I always wind up talking about him hating God or not believing in God. And it creates this weird place in my head because I'm very much ensconced in 12-step trying to do spiritual work, trying to do spiritual principles, and I have this voice in my head that says God is a scam all day.
Yeah.
So like when we talk about it, I'm like, I'm in because it's only given me good things. But on the same time, I'm like, fuck, how do I really even talk about it?
Yeah.
But I want to know, who was your friend that just texted you and what kind of shenanigans were you up to?
It's my lifelong best friend, Justin. I don't know. We would just end up getting in fights or just, I mean, like some of my best drinking times were with him of just sitting in a living room with a beer on your knee, listening to records, you know, or just like, we were the kind of drunks that would just like the challenge drunks, you know, like, oh, you don't think I could do that? Oh, I could do it. And then it was just like a mess, you know, like his big thing used to be, you could punch him in the head as hard as you can and he wouldn't get knocked out. Like that was his thing.
Would you punch him in the head?
No, I wouldn't, but he would challenge other people too. And I would egg it on. Like he's not going to fall. Hit him. He's not going to fall. Come on. And then my thing was, I bet you I can drink 30 beers. Come on. I bet you. And then like I would pass out trying, you know.
And when you go over, I mean, you make the joke of like, every bottom I had a trap door. Yeah. When you go over it in your head, like what was, like how many bottoms were there? And like when you go home in the middle of school, like how do you know that you can go back?
What do you mean?
You said you took a semester off because you were so fucked up.
Oh, I didn't take the semester off of like, I'm taking time off. I took incompletes. So like I was there for the semester. I took an extra semester to fill them out. And I've since made amends, but to all the professors and everyone, but I lied and went to my professors like, look, I was in rehab and I was addicted to drugs and everything. And what helped my case is that I didn't know it, but I was getting like minor withdrawals from not drinking. And so when I went to see them, I was kind of shaking a little and like and they were just like, they were very, very kind to me and like, look, we'll give you an incomplete, you make up the work next semester and then we'll grade you on that. And I'm like, okay. So I got that through all my classes. But the irony of that is less than a year later, I was in rehab. And
where did you wind up going?
Mearmont Treatment Center.
Where's
in
that?
Lima, Pennsylvania. I didn't do that right. When I checked in, I brought condoms because I was like, oh, maybe I'm getting lucky, And
They took them away.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then, I found a girl there and I let her wear my Phillies hat so everyone knew she was mine. It's like I never did anything the way it was supposed to be done.
Isn't romance and rehab the greatest thing in the world, though?
My first sponsor, Howie, said to me, he goes, do you have a girlfriend? I go, yeah, she lives in a halfway house in Wilkes-Barre. It's great. We talk on the phone only 10 minutes a day. We write letters. He goes, yeah, man, all the good girls are living in halfway
Wilkes-Barre.
houses in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. All the great ones,
There's just something so intoxicating about romance and rehab, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's the most intoxicating thing ever. I went to a detox in Florida.
It makes you think everything's going to be okay.
Makes you think somebody likes you.
Yeah, and also you got all this God shit swirling around. So in your head, you're like, this is God's plan. We're here. This is what he wants for us. And you trick yourself into thinking it's real.
So like first time you're in rehab, are you like, I'm an alcoholic? Is this real? Like where are you?
Dude, first time I was in rehab, I went there to get my job back. I lost my job.
Teaching.
I was a construction worker in Delaware. So I went to I stayed up all night drinking vodka again. I woke up late to work, called my boss. I got in an accident. He goes, all right, show me the police report and I'll let you come back to work. I'm scrambling to find police reports on Google. I go outside to try to kick my bumper off. I lock myself out of my apartment. My stepdad had to come over and open up the fucking apartment door. I'm a fucking mess. I kicked my rearview mirror off, the side mirror. I pull up to the job site. I go, hey, I got in an accident. He goes, did you knock your mirror off? And I go, Gene, I got a problem. And he was like, go get yourself right. And I was like, I am. So I went to this place. I found this place, outpatient. And I was like, hey, can you guys give me like a letter that says I'm trying? I got to get my job back. And they were like, when was your last drink? I was like, 7. And they were like, hold your hands out. And I like held them out and I'm shaking. And they're like, you're shaking. I go, yeah, it's really cold in here. I think I'm like sick. And that was the thing. I would get these shakes and I would get these horrible withdrawals. And I would just in my head be like, oh, I think I have like a virus. And then I would drink vodka and I'd feel like it never connected to me that I could no longer fall asleep at night without drinking. I could no longer function throughout the day without drinking. Everything would go away once I started drinking. And then they were like, look, just go to this place, stay for as long as they tell you to. And I was like, all right, well, I get my job back. Like, you'll get your job back. And then when I went in, finally, I was like, I have a problem,
Did you know, though? Were you like, I actually have a problem?
In my mind, yeah.
And did you get better?
I stayed sober for like 4 months. And then I started thinking I could drink again. And I stopped going to meetings. Immediately when I got out of rehab, I started working nonstop. I was working construction during the day, doing side jobs at night, side jobs on the weekend, making money. And, gym, feeling good, look at me. And then it all came to a head. And I was like, yeah, I think I can drink. It'll be all right. And then I started drinking again, drinking on the job, stealing money. Fuck this guy over for a job,
Stealing from the job?
Yeah, like, oh, I like on my time card, like, oh, I put in more when I wasn't there, just bullshit alcoholic behaviors. And I will never forget, it was Christmas Day. I had drank the night before. I had spent Christmas Eve into Christmas Day at a bar that I got kicked out of alone, at another bar. Somebody, I don't know if they were lying or not, but somebody told me that if you bring in your AA chips to a bar, they'll give you free drinks. So I'll never forget, I went to Catherine Rooney's, Trolley Square, Wilmington, Delaware, dumped out a bunch of AA coins on the counter. I go, I'll take a couple free drinks. The guy's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I heard if you bring your AA chips, you get drinks. And he goes, nah, man, that's really sad.
This is the best story I've ever heard in my life.
You should get out of here. And I was like, all right, well, fuck you then. So I just went, and that was on Christmas. And
Those
never,
are the kind of myths I'm always wanting to know the truth behind.
Oh, I found out.
Yeah.
They were lying to you. The old timer in the room that says you go get a drink for your A-coin, he's a son of a bitch. And I found out. All right. So I'll never forget. My downstairs neighbor, he and I hated each other. I was friends with his girlfriend. We all had mutual friends, but this guy was a piece of shit. And that Christmas, I'd been drinking through the night, smoking weed, and I woke up and I go, you know what, man? Today's the day. You're sober. Christmas will be your sobriety anniversary. What a gift to give yourself. Go down and give Chris all your booze. I was like, you're right, self. So I went down, knocked on the door. I go, hey, man, I'm getting clean again. Take all this. I gave him my Coke, gave him my pills, gave him my booze, gave him my weed, gave him my vodka, my beer. I go, Merry Christmas. And by 2 p.m., I stole a bottle of whiskey from a friend's house, and I was drunk in my car alone. And I had every intention of making Christmas 2009 my goddamn sobriety date.
So what happens? Like, how long did you stay in Delaware? When did you come back up here?
I stayed in Delaware until 2012, and I started comedy in 2011, February 1st, 2011.
How did you do that?
I was involved in a Philadelphia punk rock hardcore music message board, and a friend I made through there, his name's Tim Butterly. He's one of the funniest people I've ever met. He and I became friends on that website for years, and somehow we started talking about comedy and about how we wanted to try it. And I was living in a halfway house in Newport, Delaware, an Oxford house. And he said, I'm going to go Tuesday. Do you want to go? And I said, I'll go Tuesday. Let's go. So we met up, went and did an open mic. I went first. He went second. I blacked out. The lights were too bright. It went well. I got laughs. He got laughs. And we got invited to an open mic later that night. And then we just did it every night ever since.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you fall in love with it. You know that this is what you want to be doing.
Yeah.
And in your time doing comedy, like, when was the first time you relapsed, and was it while you were out at a show or something?
No,
Were you in meetings at that point?
Yeah, I'd started a meeting in Delaware. The meeting's still going on today, which is pretty cool.
That is sweet.
But I'd started a meeting. It was really big, and it was on Saturdays. And I started to miss a meeting to go up to Philly to do comedy. And I was, I started the meeting. I was the treasurer, and then I started not going to the meeting, and then people started talking, and then people knew I was like unemployed, and they're like, but he's in Philly. What's going on? So they thought I was stealing money from the meeting. And this guy, John, vouched for me. He goes, no, Ian wouldn't do that. I know Ian. Look, I'm going to go to his halfway house. I'll meet up with him. I'll get you guys some money and bring it back to the group. Okay. So I'll never forget. He comes, meets me on the porch. I give him the money that I'd been collecting for the fucking group. And I go, look, man, like, he goes, dude, you're living your dream. I get it, man. I get it. I'll take the money. I'll bring it back to the group. I go, great. A week later, Ian, what the fuck did you do with that money? And where's John? And I'm
Amazing.
like, what? This guy, John, fucking took my money, went to Philly and started just smoking crack again.
I'm so happy to hear that.
And then cut to 6 months later, I was still the treasurer collecting the money. A kid that lived in our halfway house stole the money. So I got robbed twice by crackheads with this fucking meeting that they thought I was the one stealing.
But you were
from.
still trusted.
Yeah.
Because they believed your story of these phantom crackheads who stole the money.
Yeah. No, this guy John came back and was like, I did it. I stole it. I'm sorry.
That's so...
Yeah.
I don't know why it tickles me so much, the idea of junkies stealing the money from the AA meeting.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. I don't see a basket in a meeting that I don't want to steal from every meeting. Every meeting.
We had a guy called the Hamburglar because he used to steal the money out of the basket at one of the city meetings, and he'd take it and someone goes, that's for the group. And he goes, it's for a hamburger. So they called him the Hamburglar.
That's amazing. And are you getting into program at that point? Like, are you like into it?
What do you mean?
when you're going to meetings and doing comedy? And did you first kill at meetings before you did comedy?
No, I felt like I never tried to be like funny at the meeting.
Well, that's probably makes you more sober than a lot of people.
But it was cool though, because young sobriety, everybody's like, oh man, you're doing the thing, let's go. So all these sober people would come to my shows, so it was like I had like a built-in audience, which was like great, but it also inflated my idea of like, oh, I'm great. And it's like, well, let's see how good you are in front of people that don't know who you are.
Do you look down at people trying to be funny at AA meetings?
No.
Yes, you do. I can tell.
No, I don't care. I get a kick out of bad humor. So when things are bad, I think it's hilarious.
Right.
Like this guy at a meeting one time goes, hey, when I'm not in program, when I'm not in these rooms, you know what my favorite song is? Me, 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 me. And I am cackling. And everyone's like, what the fuck? I love bad jokes.
You like bad AA
humor.
jokes?
Yeah.
Poor me, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so you're fucking doing well in Philly, enjoying comedy.
I mean, I was working at a restaurant. The goal was to move back to New York, make money. I was saving money. I was living in an Oxford house. My rent was like $100 a week, and so the goal was to get back to New York. And right before I left for New York, I started drinking again secretly. And I moved back to New York, and immediately I started, eating weed brownies and drinking and getting fucked up. And, that's when like the clean time was like the back and forth seesaw of it all. But I never stopped comedy. And, eventually it got way worse in New York than it had previous.
How bad did it get?
I mean, I went to jail more times.
For what?
Just bullshit, like drinking in public, not paying it, having a warrant, getting caught, getting thrown in jail. That's when I was like really, in 2008, when I left New York, I left in a bad way, like, waking up on the street, getting in fights. And then that happened all over again. But I was just older and had more to lose. And I was just a mess. And I was hanging out with people that were wanting to be comics, and I was wanting their coke. So I would have to stay up all night and listen to their like bad open mic bits and be like, yeah, they should sell hot dogs on the subway. That's really funny. Can I have more coke? And and then I got this job working for a financial analysis firm, which I've never done before. But my drug dealer got me that job so that I could keep making money to buy more drugs. And it was just a nightmare. I'm like I'm drinking on the way to work in the morning. I'm bringing a bottle of vodka with me in the morning. I'm drinking that Georgie pint by the time I get in. I'm puking in the bathroom. I'm going out for lunch, taking a long lunch at the bar across the street. I'm blacking out by 5 o'clock. I'm waking up, I'm at an open mic somewhere. I'm going and drinking. I'm losing my phone the night before. I'm waking up covered in blood. Do it all over again, going on a road gig, drinking a 6-pack on the way to the road gig, getting fucked up while I'm there, coming back, just, and then eventually I got sober again, and I had to get on food stamps and government assistance and everything in sobriety, because I got fired from that job and I was trying to find work. And then eventually I worked my way out of it and I got off all that stuff. And then,
you mean the government assistance and stuff? How enamored were you with like rogue alcoholic comedians and all that kind of stuff?
I didn't really hang out with people because I wanted to drink the way I wanted to drink.
No, I mean in your mind, like Belushi or Artie Lang or any of those kinds of people.
I was reading the Chris Farley story. I was reading Live from New York. I wanted to be that. I remember doing coke with someone on my improv team and be like, this is what Farley did. Come on, let's go.
Right.
So it was, to me in my head, I was like, this is a part of
the romance of the adventure.
Oh, definitely like romanticizing, but also like seeing that it was just such a smoke and mirror, awful. And also, like, I don't have it like those guys. I'm not Farley. I'm not Belushi. Those guys were magical. I'm doing coke in the bathroom at a fucking open mic, and I'm fucking 30. Like, we are not the same. Get over this delusion that you are those guys and just be who you are.
What about the great AA cliche of the head full of AA and the belly full of beer? Like, at that point, you had a bit of recovery and sobriety in you. Like, does that go in your head at all?
Yeah, it's horrible. Sorry, I had to respond to that. Dude, that's the worst. Having a head full of AA and a belly full of beer. My drunk dials were to people in AA being like, I gotta stop, I can't stop, help me. And then the next day they call and I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk to them. You know, like, that's such a pathetic way to live, getting drunk and looking to the person in the bar stool next to you being like, you know, I used to be sober. It's like, ugh. You know, comedy is tragedy plus time equals comedy. Talking about these stories, and I can spin a yarn about, you know, this happened, that happened. I was drinking hand sanitizer on a Greyhound bus. Oh, wow. Yeah, I called it Satan champagne. Ha, 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 ha. But when you're in it, and you're at a show and you're like, hey, let's all cheers to this. I relapsed yesterday. Everyone's like, you are making us uncomfortable.
You have a problem.
Yeah. So that's not good. You know, and I was going through all this stuff while still doing comedy, and it just wasn't funny. It was sad. I was a sad, pathetic guy that was drinking to kill himself because he didn't have the balls to do it, because he wasn't okay with who he was.
Did you find like I want to die? Did you find yourself thinking, I want to die, I don't want to live?
Oh, yeah. I started selling my things. I started really making concrete plans and could not ride my bike over the bridge without wanting to just steer it off and fantasizing about different places. And I mean, it was a really, really, I was in a really, really bad way in 2013. And then, you know, I got sober again and I started working at a halfway house on the Upper West Side, and I was teaching again, and then, you know, I relapsed in 2015, and the run I went on then was like, everything just, it got expedited to such a short period of time.
What was you got sober in 2015, right?
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
What was the run, the last horrible run?
I was doing a 2-week college tour. I was opening for my friend, and I was working in a sober living house on the Upper West Side. I had a girlfriend. I had just gotten a raise. I had just gotten promoted. I had just gotten, I forget the term, but when guys graduated the house, they would link up with one of us and we would like run their aftercare program. And I had just gotten that promotion. So I was getting money. I was making a ton of money. I was like doing great. I was in sobriety. I was this and that. I was starting to make a name for myself in my little circle of comedy, you know, wow. And I got to the airport to fly to, I think, North Dakota to start this week of college gigs. And I did my classic, if this person picks up, then I won't drink. If they don't pick up, I'm going to drink. I called, they didn't pick up, and I drank. And that was the thing I would do all the time. I would do mental gymnastics, stuff like that all the time. I would do, you know, like when I got a DUI one time because I drank, I was like, all right, I'm going to call this guy. If he picks up, I won't drink. And I call, he picks up. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, look, man, I want to drink. He goes, don't do it. Don't do it. I was 4 months sober, 1991. I went out to drink. I woke up in a jail cell. I killed a family. I was in jail for 11 years. Don't do it. I'm like, man, you're right. I'm not going to do it. We hang up, and then I go, all right, if this next guy doesn't pick up, then I'm going to drink. I called the next guy. He didn't pick up, and I was like, no, I'm going to drink. And then that night, I went out. I got a 6-pack and a pint. I went out. I am at a bar, comically getting kicked out, yelling, is my money not green? I remember that. And then the next thing I know, I'm parked in the middle of a 4-lane highway. My right foot is on the brake. My left foot's out the window. The car's in drive. I got a fish fillet in the front seat from McDonald's. A cop goes, "What are you doing in the middle of the road?" And I go, "Well, what are you doing in my apartment?" And they yanked me out of the car, put me in a jail cell. I come to again. I'm puking. And I'm begging them to take me to jail. Like, I ruined my sobriety. Take me to jail. I killed someone. I killed. And they're like, no, you didn't kill anyone. You're lucky. You could have killed someone. Now get someone to pick you up or we're throwing you in jail. And I go, throw me in jail. I deserve it. And I'll never forget the young cop grabbed me. He goes, you don't want to go to jail. Just get someone to get you out of our hair and go home. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I just called. I called my buddy and he picked me up. And, I mean, that again was God or something that fucking saved me. You know, I used to, and I know I'm a piece of shit. I used to love driving drunk. I don't know what it was.
You're not the first person I've heard say that.
It was like this thing that made you feel invincible. And I used to drink a 6-pack of Yingling or Heineken. And I'd throw the beer bottles out of my sunroof. In my mind, they were breadcrumbs. If I drove off the road, they could follow where the beer bottles went, you know? And I would, dude, it was so pathetic. I would drive by places where my dad used to live. I would drive by places where I used to be something. And I'd just stare out the window and drink a bottle of vodka at the destination where I was.
How much did your dad's death inform you think your alcoholism?
I mean, my grandfather died at 53 of liver poisoning. You know, my dad was an alcoholic and a drug addict. He died sober, you know.
Was he in program?
Yeah.
Wow.
And, you know, my grandmother was an alcoholic. My uncle and aunt I didn't have a snowball's chance in hell, you know, but.
I once heard you talk about finding your dad's journals.
Mm-hmm.
And he talk about his recovery in his journals?
Yeah. Yeah, he talked about going to meetings, and he talked about not wanting to, you know, use needles anymore.
What was he shooting? Heroin or coke or both? Or you don't know? Speed?
I don't know. Speed, yeah. But you know, he talked about getting sober. He talked about being sober. He talked about how it was so hard to keep his friends while he was not drinking, and they were, you know, egging him on, and choosing this path was so hard for him. And it's funny because I spent my entire life growing up when I was straight edge, like, this is for my dad. I don't want him to look down and see me being this way. And then I found his journals at 19 and I saw the parts of his journals where he was, you know, locked up again for a DUI. He was, you know, drunk in this and this story and that story. And so then in my head, I was like, oh, he drank and was an alcoholic. I can drink and be just like him. So that almost like slowly gave me permission to drink.
If I'm not drinking, am I like him?
Yeah.
And so in the end, they find you in the road with the fillet of fish, and they don't want to lock you up, and you're like, I deserve to die. Where do you wind up, and how do you wind up getting it together?
I had a really good job at the time, and I paid for the top DUI attorney in Delaware, and they got me a breathalyzer on my car. And I think I had like a suspended license for like 6 months. So I got a bicycle and I just rode that everywhere. And I started comedy when I had the breathalyzer on my car, which is hilarious.
Good material.
Yeah, that was one of my first jokes. I was like, I have a breathalyzer on my car. So when a girl comes in the car, I go, you gotta blow on something. One starts it, the other drives it. Like, that was like my woohoo, you know.
Very good.
Somehow that came out of my brain like 2 months ago. I was on stage and I said that. I was like, I don't know where this came from. That was one of the first jokes I wrote. I don't know how it came out, you know. But
did it feel good?
Oh, it felt horrible. I was like, why did I ever think that was funny?
But you get fucking 10 years and you go back to these very humble beginnings of blowjob breathalyzer jokes, and you're 10 years sober and your career is booming. There's got to be some kind of satisfaction and good feeling in that.
Sorry.
What's happening?
I had, because of the gifts of sobriety, I have a cleaning lady, and she was supposed to come at 4:30, and so I just told her
I fucked up your cleaning lady schedule.
No, I fucked it up because I should have timed this better. So then now she said she's going to come at 6:30.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
I
don't
tried to do
apologize.
stand-up. I tried to do stand-up twice.
Really?
First time I did it, I went into, I was drinking, and I was a heroin addict. I was drinking a little bit, smoking a little bit of weed, and I had a note from my cleaning lady in my pocket that she wrote on this giant piece of paper. Like I had a sketch pad, and she wrote this note like, I had to clean the blood off your ceilings. Please don't leave used condoms on the floor anymore. And it killed. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
And then I went and I was like, this is great. Half the thing was me being like, I'm a heroin addict, but it seems like I can smoke weed and drink a little bit. That did well. And then the note from the cleaning lady killed. And then I went back and I had no plan. And it was terrible.
Oh yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah, the hubris of I can do it with no plan.
Yeah. It's hard. I was like, I'm funny. I could figure this out.
Yeah.
And I never went back because I'm not. I mean, number one, I don't have what it takes to be a stand-up, or I'm not a night person.
Really? I'm a night owl. I've always been a night owl.
I'm a very early morning person.
Oh my God. I was up this morning at 7 and I'm like, good God, what am I doing?
So when are you like, I love this, I need to do this, or are you just like, I have to do it?
The program of AA?
Just sobriety.
I mean, dude, when I was living in, and this is something I say and I feel a lot. When I was living in Delaware and I was living in a halfway house and I had no job and I had nothing, and I was driving newcomers from detox to meetings to commitments, we're in the back of a car going through the steps in the big book, I felt so alive and so on fire and so good. And when I was going to a meeting in the morning, working with guys during the day, going to meetings at night, doing this commitment, that commitment, driving through the snow to Kensington to go to the last stop meeting, to hear the speaker, you know, hopping guys in the car. We're going to DopeyPod. Like, oh my God, that I was on fire and I felt so good. And I started comedy and that became my higher power. And then that felt so good.
Because you get that people is the commonality. You have, I mean, the DopeyPod fucking service steps. You're surrounded by people. You're doing the next right thing. You're connecting with people. People are relying on you. They can trust you. You feel good. You're in the comedy scene. You're friends with comedians. You're killing, and you have people, and it makes you feel good. It just doesn't have the spiritual component. But isn't it the common bond there is the people?
Well, I guess, but for me now, I always have to bring it back to sobriety because I would lose this if I wasn't sober and I wouldn't have it if I wasn't sober. So I have to give the message back so that I can keep having this and I can keep sobriety. And so every time, you know, that's been one of the biggest struggles of being sober. You know, I'm a little over 10 years sober, and that's been one of the biggest struggles is, you know, when you come into these rooms and you come into recovery after your ass is whooped and you've still got, you know, scars on your body and, you know, you're still in Librium and everything and you're tapering off that, it's really easy to dive into AA and be on fire and feel good. But when you're sober for years and you haven't been to meetings and you've been on Self-Will Run Riot and you've been your own God and you've been running the whole show, it is very hard to come back into those rooms and feel good and to feel on fire and to feel excited. And I've been searching for that feeling in sobriety and into the rooms for a long time because it's been very hard to maintain good sobriety for long periods of time. I was dry for a very long time.
In this 10-year run?
Yes.
When was that?
And that's a part of my story, and I can admit that for a long time. I
find
didn't go to meetings for a very, very long time.
If I don't go to a meeting for a week and I go to a meeting, I'm like, this is bullshit. I don't want to fucking hear about it. Like, I can't handle listening to people at a meeting. Yeah. Just all of it. The fucking drunk on self-righteousness is, I mean, like I went to a meeting the other day on Father's Day, and I have kids, and every fireman and cop at the meeting has kids, and some guy goes, "Happy Father's Day, Dave." And I'm like, "Yeah, happy Father's Day." And he goes, "We get to." And I was like, leave me alone. Fucking tell somebody. I didn't say it. I didn't say it out loud, but I'm just like, we get to. Yeah. I'm just so disgusted with that. But I know that if I'm not constantly priming this fucking pump, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
And I can't enjoy my sobriety. What brought you back from the dry?
A buddy of mine randomly, we'd been talking about, and here, I don't know if you can relate to this or not, but in being public about sobriety, it's almost like a backdoor way into 12-stepping.
Yeah.
So I have very much, I'm carrying the message. Wow, look at all these people I help. Wow, I'm really
Through
doing
your comedy, you mean?
Yeah, and so that can trick me into thinking like, dude, you don't need meetings. Like, look at the good you do, and that doesn't cut it. The real sobriety and the real help as a byproduct of living sober and living my life, it has helped other people get sober, and I'll never take that for granted. I say that, but I do, because it can allow me to think, wow, I need to go to a meeting. Look at this guy that just reached
Two
out.
alcoholics
Wow.
talking together is a meeting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This
Hey,
is a
wow,
meeting.
this is great.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, a guy in the meet and greet told me I helped get him sober.
That's a check. I went to a meeting.
Yeah. And so I was living on that for a very long time, and then wondering, why am I so miserable? Why am I running through women? Why am I running through men? Why can I not be happy in this relationship? Why is this? Why is that? And the whole time when I wasn't in meetings, I have a strong group of sober guy friends that, we're in group chats and we talk. And the message over and over that I was getting from my buddy was, I know this isn't sexy and I know it's not what you want to hear, but you got to go to meetings and you got to help another guy. And I'm just like, fuck you. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Give me the fucking answer I want and just tell me it's going to be fine doing nothing, you fucking dickhead.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget, I was calling him to complain one time, and I was back in Delaware, and I typed his name into my phone to call and complain, and it went to his text message, and the last thing he said was, you have to go to a meeting and help someone else. And I was like, oh, you piece of shit. So I went to the meeting that I started in Delaware, like fucking 15 years ago or whatever. And it was like packed, and there were all these people. It was like, oh my God. And that was kind of like a nice thing for me. I've never gone there and been like, I'm the reason why,
I hope you did this time.
Oh, could you imagine?
Did you?
No,
You didn't do it?
No, I would never. Oh God, I would feel so bad. But seeing that, was like, huh. And I called him afterwards, and I shared at the meeting, which I was going to meetings here and there, but I wasn't sharing. I would 12-step call people. Oh, let me get you to a meeting,
like comics and stuff.
Yeah. And like, and friends, but I wasn't actively going and sharing. So I went and I made myself share. I stuck around. I helped with the chairs.
When was
I helped
this?
put this away. Man, this was like, dude, I'm so bad with any.
Roughly
I've been on the
year?
road so much. Yeah, this year,
Okay.
like way earlier in the year. And no, last year. Jesus Christ.
Recently, in the last couple of years.
Recently.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No, it's all right. I'm losing it, man. And I stayed and I helped with the chairs and and I called my friend, and then this kid that I helped get sober years ago, I called him because he was calling me every now and then. I was, I'm busy. And so, and then I started calling another guy, and then my buddy was with me, who had been talking, he and I had been talking about sobriety. He's been wanting to get sober and then couldn't. And then, and I was always kind of an ear to him. And he goes, hey, I'm 11 days sober. I'm going to a meeting tomorrow. And I go, well, if you go to a meeting tomorrow, I'll go to a meeting tomorrow. And it came out of my mouth, and I was like, what? Why did I say that? Where the fuck did that? I don't want to go to a meeting tomorrow. And so I did. And then he did. And then we talked about it. And I go, well, hey, I'm going to go to a meeting tomorrow. You want to go? And he goes, well, I'll go if you go. I go, all right. And then I went. And then he went. And we started doing that. And then I started to get that feeling again.
Good feeling.
Of being on fire. And it felt so fucking good. And what do you know? Everything was starting to be amazing. I just started feeling better. And then I got distracted and stopped going. And then, you got to do it again. And so I don't run a perfect program, and I try not to pretend that I do, even though sometimes I don't know how I come off. I try not to think about it.
No, it's just like you want to get it and then keep it and not have to do anything to keep it. Just having gotten it, you keep it. But, fucking my, character defects come back constantly. They never, I could ask every morning for them to be removed, but by the night they're back.
And the hardest part is the awareness. It's almost like, well, if I stay away, then I can not be aware of these things, because once I become aware of the character defects, I got to do something about them.
Does the culty thing bother you, or it doesn't bother you?
What do you mean?
Even just hearing myself mentioning character defects and that they come back and all day, and like the fact that I've worked every morning, I'm saying, please take away my character defects. Like I'm doing that again.
Yeah.
Like, and then I feel, even though our show is about drugs, addiction, and dumb shit, and we put recovery under the category of dumb shit, and obviously recovery is built into our show, I feel weird about talking serious program on the show. Like I don't talk about it that much on the show, but you seem very open to talking program. Like, is it weird to be in normal world, and do you ever feel culty when you're in the world? Does it bother you?
I don't know, man. The way I see it is, the whole idea of anonymity at the level of press, radio, and film kind of went out the window for me a long time ago. And I like to, I just think there's a place people can go to get better and to know that it doesn't have to be the way that it is. And whether it's a cult or whether it's not, who gives a fuck? It's worked for me, and it's worked for so many other people. So give it a fucking shot.
I feel the same way.
A lot of worse things you can do, and there are a lot of better things you can do. But this is a pretty good thing that you can do, and that you should do if you feel that you need it.
I appreciate that. And you went on Joe Rogan fairly recently.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was great.
Was it cool?
Yeah.
It looked good.
It was surreal.
Is it weird to fucking be touring with David Tell when he was one of the first people you saw?
I mean, it's so funny because he's just my friend Dave. He's been like my best friend. He's like my dad, man. We talk on the phone every single night. He really took care of me for a long time. Transitioning out of opening from him to headlining on my own has been kind of strange, because we had such a built-in thing where I was with him like every weekend. Now I'm on my own. It's great, but we miss each other. Like we call each other every night from the road, and it's surreal because I used to listen to him when I worked construction in Delaware. I'd put him and Mitch Hedberg on, and Carlin and Pryor, and we would listen to Attell while we're like hanging sheetrock. And then next thing you know, he and I are together all the time. It's crazy. It
was very cool that he brought you into the Rogan show. Like he was he was clearly as like, I don't want to do this without Ian.
Yeah.
Which is very sweet.
Yeah. It was so surreal, man. On the way there, we get picked up, and he was like, I'm really nervous. I'm so glad you're doing this with me. And I was like, you're nervous?
Why was he nervous?
Like, I'm nervous. I'm glad you're doing it with me. And he goes, well, I'm glad we have each other. And that was really nice.
It's very beautiful.
Yeah. Because Rogan is weird. He doesn't get jokes, you know, and he wants to be, let's go down this rabbit hole. And it's like, we just want to be funny, you know? And so like, it was such a blessing for us to be there with each other, because, he's my best friend and I'm his, and we get each other. So when I would throw something out, I knew Dave would be there to laugh, and I'd be there to laugh for him if Rogan didn't get it, So there are like some whiffs we both had, and then we'd look at each other and laugh, and it made us feel better,
Is it annoying to come on here and have it not be a funny podcast time?
No, that's not annoying at all. What's annoying is that you give me the taste of Lux and you don't give me the whole meal.
Well, we can circle back for Lux.
No, I feel like I've been all over the place.
No.
I feel like I didn't carry my load with the funny. I should have punched this up before I got in here.
And you worked on Crank Yankers as a punch up writer guy?
I know, and I fucked this up. Can you believe it? You
can punch up future Dopey.
Perfect.
No, you were fantastic. You want to play my stupid game before we go?
I'd love to.
Okay, it's called This or That, all right? Misfits or Minor Threat?
Misfits.
Operation Ivy or Hatebreed?
Operation Ivy.
Crank Yankers or Jerky Boys?
Oh my God, I just watched Jerky Boys for the first time in forever the other day. How did you know that?
I know things.
Oh my God. Jerky Boys. They're the reason it started.
Podcasts or stand-up?
Whoa, stand up.
Marin or Louis C.K.?
Whoa, CK.
LSD or mushrooms?
LSD.
Boss Tones or Less Than Jake?
Whoa, Boss Tones.
Yeah, you guys love the Boss Tones on that Toby Morse's show.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like anti-Toby Morse.
Really?
Not really. I'm just jealous of him. I'm jealous of his show. I don't know why he doesn't want me to go on his show.
He won't have you?
I don't know.
Really?
He doesn't know who I am.
I'll call him right now and
It's
tell
one of
him.
these. No, don't.
Toby.
No, don't. We got to get. I want you to call David Tell and have him come here.
Yeah.
David Tell will be good.
He's not going to.
That's fair enough. LSD or mushrooms? You did. Fucking David Tell or Bill Burr?
David Tell.
And are you excited for the Spaceballs sequel?
I'm heartbroken that Rick Moranis is going to be in the Spaceballs sequel and not the Ghostbusters sequels.
Talk about that. I mean, like were the Ghostbusters sequels good? He was in the second one.
Right, but he was such an integral part of the Ghostbusters franchise.
Why are you so into Ghostbusters?
I think it was the first comedy I remember seeing, and the toys were so interesting, and the equipment was interesting.
The Ghostbusters cartoon was fantastic.
Yeah,
that Fox cartoon.
I grew up watching that, and it's the first movie I remember watching with my mom and dad at the same time, and so that is special to me. But at the same time, it's I don't know, man. It's like Ghostbusters in New York go so hand in hand for me, and New York is like a unspoken character in that film and in that franchise, and Ninja Turtles and Ghostbusters made me fall in love with New York. So it's like surreal that I'm in that world, that those places existed.
Was that Ghostbusters with which one was it with Paul Rudd? Was that one good?
Yeah.
It was good?
Yeah. I liked it.
I think what you should do
Mm-hmm.
is you should start working on another Ghostbusters script.
Uh-huh.
And you could be a Ghostbuster. And you could make the franchise do a little bit better than it has. And I think after this Spaceballs iteration with Rick Moranis, he might come back.
Well, that's what's upsetting, is that he's doing the Spaceballs sequel, but he didn't do good. He was Louis Tully. He was so important in the lore of Ghostbusters.
I think Mel Brooks at 98 calling Rick Moranis had a certain level of
rather than Ivan Reitman's son.
Yeah, I think that was it.
I hear you.
I met Bill Murray. He ran away from me. I went to Cuba in January. I was in this thing in Cuba. It was Bill Murray, George Clinton from Parliament Funkadelic, Taj Mahal, and I was part of it. And Bill Murray, every time he'd pop up, I'd run over to him and he'd like run away from me.
Like physically run away as like a bit, or like get away from me guy?
I think it was both. I think it was a little, it was crazy.
Oh, I love him so much. What About Bob's my favorite comedy of all time.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah. I very much embodied Bob and Dr. Leo Marvin.
I asked Bill Murray if he felt like the character in, what was the Japan movie?
Lost in Translation.
I said, do you feel like that all the time, that you're all alone, this famous person?
Yeah.
And he goes, maybe I do. And then he took off and ran away.
Amazing.
Ian?
Wait, real quick. I have to
Yes.
go back.
Yes.
Operation Ivy or Hatebreed.
Yes.
That was the hardest one.
Well, I know that you love both of those bands.
Uh-huh.
I never listened to Hatebreed. I love Operation Ivy. Supposedly, Jesse might come on our show from Operation Ivy.
Oh my God.
If it happens, I'll let you come. I'll let you come back.
Incredible.
Now, I work for Katz's Deli.
Yes.
I've worked for Katz's Deli for many
Doing
years.
what?
Now I run their strategic partnerships and social media and marketing stuff. There's no way to bribe a tell somehow through Katz's,
Dude.
through the lore of Katz's.
First of all, okay, I'll say it. I like Sarge's better.
All right, that's fine. We're not going down this road. You really like Sarge's Deli better than Katz's?
Yeah.
Why?
The last time I was at Katz's, it was dry. It was overpriced.
What did you get? What did you get?
I got the brisket.
Listen, you come with me.
Okay. All right.
What
I'll
do you
go
get
with
at
the Katz King.
Sarge's? What do they get at? What do you get at Sarge's?
Same thing.
Do they cut it by hand?
Juicier brisket.
Wow, listen. As somebody that's been in the deli industry for almost 20 years, I need to tell you
I'll
something.
tell you this.
Yes.
Canters over Katz.
You're bugging out. Are you just trying to get me, gaslight me? Is this gaslighting?
No.
Is this gas luxing? What is this? I'm serious. What, like, you really would pick Canters over Katz's? But you're not Jewish. You're not from New York. You're from Delaware.
I'm from Delaware.
So almost, what do you know about
So
it?
I know nothing.
Dude, why are you hating on Katz's?
I went to Dogfish Head Brewery and tried to tell them their beer sucked and I'd rather have a Schlitz, and they kicked me out.
I feel good about that story. I ran into Adam Carolla outside of Cantor's when I was on heroin, and I told him that he sucked, and he didn't like that. It was like Stern had just gotten off and Carolla had taken over for Stern.
Yeah.
And I'm like milling about. I don't know what I'm doing in the Cantor's parking lot, but I wound up telling Adam Carolla that he sucked.
Hilarious.
Horrible. Horrible. I want to just tell you this about briskets.
Mm-hmm.
Briskets are like snowflakes. There are never two alike. And sometimes you're going to get a dry one, and sometimes you're going to get a juicy one.
Right.
You eat brisket at Katz as though over pastrami.
Mm-hmm.
You need to come down.
Okay.
I'm going to hook you up.
Okay.
And I would like, you don't need to mention this to Attell.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to, whatever. I'm going to give you Harley Flanagan because I want to.
Yeah.
Because it's in my heart to be of service to you. So if you want to share the mythology of Dopey, I told you about my friend who died. And did I tell you about the story?
No.
Oh my God. We started the show. I got sober in 2015, just like you.
What month?
August.
Okay.
So you're far more sober than me. What month did you get sober?
April. When did you initially? I started to try to get sober in 2008. How about you?
Oh God. I was
How old are you?
I'm 51.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I'm 51 and I got sober. I got sober at 41.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really try before that. Not really.
Yeah.
I'd been around, I was a heroin addict for 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was a stoner since I was a teenager. But I started this show with my friend Chris, who I met at Rehab.
Mm-hmm.
He wound up relapsing 2.5 years into making the show and dying. And the last time we saw each other was at Artie Lang's apartment in Hoboken.
Shut the fuck
And the
up.
two of them were high, and I brought him a bag of Katz's, and he liked it more than Sarge's and Cantor's put together, I think. But he loved Attell.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's some way to cross stars. And I know that Attell also played one of those shows at Katz's.
I know he's not
going to come here.
A podcast guy, and he's certainly not
He's not coming here.
Regaling of personal details guy.
Right, he's not coming here.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
And it's not anything personal.
He's not coming here. Of course.
It's just a part of his life that he doesn't like to share with people.
Send him my very best.
I will.
And
I will
Ian,
do that.
Forget Attell. Thank you very much for coming. It was such a pleasure. I love that you talked so much program and you kept it real.
Yeah.
Did you have a good time?
I did. Yeah. I really appreciate you having me on. I think what you do is so important and wonderful. And I'm glad I finally got to be a part of it.
You knew about it?
Yeah.
How did you know about it?
About Dopey?
Yeah.
Because I'm sober.
You got
and
your ear to the street?
I got my ear to the street, man. Come on.
See, best grandpa ever. Thank you, Ian. It's
Thank
awesome.
you.